Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Zimbabwean consumers have found themselves between a rock and a hard place when it comes to getting basic commodities, as manufacturers, wholesalers and retailers are now charging selected products such as sugar, milk and coconut oil in United States dollars.
This development has sparked fears that the local currency may soon be rendered useless as retailers prefer the US dollar at a time some basic commodities are disappearing from shop shelves. A majority of workers in the country earn salaries in local currency, whilst the country is also heavily dependent on imports of raw materials for fast-moving consumer goods, FMCG.
Following the prices of selected goods exclusively in US dollars, the government yesterday reversed its decision to suspend the duty on imported oranges and grapefruits. Joining us to speak more on this is Economic Analyst Kudakwashe Munemo. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you. A pleasure to be here.
How are these developments affecting the ordinary consumer in Zimbabwe?
So basically, the ordinary consumer in Zimbabwe remains the victim and also a survivor of these developments, which to me are largely a result of monetary and fiscal policy inconsistency and also uncertainty, which is manifesting itself in the form of contradicting policy announcements and poorly thought of actions, which are unfortunately made at the executive level, whereby in one instance, the government promises a raft of measures to promote the use of local currency, and in another statement, announces pricing of goods and services that it offers itself in hard currency, such as the United States dollar. The majority of employees in Zimbabwe, as you might be aware, are getting paid in the local currency, and they have to in turn convert the local currency to the United States dollar first on the parallel market in order for them to store value, number one, but also to transact in the form of paying their own bills, such as rentals and these basic commodities, which are now being charged in foreign currency. The cost of living is increasing on almost a daily basis, and this is against constant wages and salaries, especially for the civil servants. And thus, many of these citizens can no longer afford sending their children to schools. They can no longer afford having a balanced meal and also accessing health services and safe modes of transport.
You've mentioned how the cost of living has increased. So you would say that it's fair for the manufacturers to make such demands?
I think the background is that the local currency is technically dead. It's now being used more by the public as either change for speculation and only when they have received it as the only option for remuneration. So in that instance, you would see yourself that the manufacturers are simply responding to the contextual developments in the economy and country at large, in which the local currency itself continues to drastically lose value on a daily basis. And therefore, many of these manufacturers are getting to charge United States dollars and or a forward pricing in the local currency, otherwise known as the RTGS, to enable them to then buy back the United States dollar without incurring losses. So when you look at it, it's part of their own measures to ensure that they remain as a going concern, number one, but also they are currently in a survival mode, where most of the manufacturers have failed to access foreign currency at the cost dysfunctional foreign exchange auction. And thus they need this foreign currency now to import the raw materials, which are critical for their own production. Therefore, they then begin to charge prices in United States dollars.
Well, in the past, there was, a conversation about, the decision to fully dollarize. Would you say the government's decision to not fully dollarize is worsening the situation, and could, the decision instead, or, to fully dollarize the Zimbabwean economy, would that have helped instead?
Yeah, for me, definitely the move by government through the Minister of Finance, Honorable Professor Mthuli has worsened the situation, mainly because they themselves are not ready to pay public workers in foreign currency, despite their own capacity to generate revenue in the same foreign currency as well. So in the short to medium term, for me, full dollarization could help, but may not be the panacea to the country's current woes, as other factors now to include boosting capacity utilization by local manufacturers, promoting exports, and being consistent in terms of policy formulation and implementation, and largely restoring the public's trust remain crucial. for us to be back on track.
All right, thank you very much for joining us. We hope that this is sorted out soon and that the people of Zimbabwe can go back to living life, as normal, if not in a better situation. Thank you for joining us.
Most welcome, and thank you.